Hi everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 6 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing. Now before we get stuck into that, just got a couple of announcements to make. First of all, I quickly want to apologise for not doing a video on today's racing. I just didn't have the time last night to record, so apologies for that. Also as well, if you're a follower of my work, make sure you listen to the latest In the Saddle podcast, where I was joined by my co-host Mark Roski, as well as racing blogger Katie Clements and former jump jockey Paul Callaghan, and we were discussing this weekend's racing at Aintree, also as well the Tingle Creek at Sandown, as well as the King Henry VIII Chase, where Betfair again are going to be doing their £5 free bet on the exchange for new and existing companies. There's a link to it in the bio. Great offer and great initiative there by Betfair, who have done that now. The last couple of weekends you could have got a £5 free bet on the Betfair Chase at Haydock, and also as well on the Fighting Fifth last week at Newcastle, so make sure you take advantage of that. Also as well, in the podcast we looked ahead to Sunday's racing 2 with the Peterborough Chase at Huntington. Always a nice race to watch. Often a lot of old favourites take part in that, like Top Notch, who I think is going to be going there this Sunday. And also as well, we looked towards the race at Punchestown at the weekend with the John Durkin Chase, and that looks one hell of a lineup. So if you want to know our thoughts and feelings on that, just hit one of the links in the description box below. We've got all the podcast platforms covered, including the likes of Spotify, SoundCloud and iTunes. Whatever floats your boat, we've got it all covered. And if you want to listen to one of those episodes, just hit the link in the description box below. But enough of that, let's get into the tips for tomorrow's racing. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of good racing tomorrow, and I've got 6 of my best tips. And we're actually going to be going, and we'll be starting with my Longshot tomorrow, which runs in the 108 at Navan over the Irish Sea. Now this horse I actually put up to run at Fairyhouse last weekend, and that is at the Acorn for Ain O'Connor, claiming 5, riding for Tony Martin. Now if you know your Irish racing, you'll know that Tony Martin is often associated with quite a lot of shrewd gambles, and this horse is definitely one of them. Now when I put this horse up last week, I think it was around about a 14 to 1 chance, and was quite well gambled in the market overnight and throughout the morning. I think at one point it was 5 to 1, but when the money was down, and typical style, became a non-runner. Maybe they just didn't fancy their chances that day, and the reason they gave was the ground, but it was soft ground, and this horse has won on soft ground before. So yeah, I couldn't really see how they could get away with that, but who knows, maybe they were saving it for today. Also as well, what was interesting that day, they had booked Ain O'Connor, who's claiming 5 again tomorrow, and she's actually the sister-in-law, I believe, to Harry Fry. Now it's interesting, I think they're keeping the relationship here. I think they obviously have got a plan or have got a project with this horse, you know. Like I said, was subject to the gamble last year when he won over fences off a mark of 116, but he easily won that day. He was raised £15 by the handicapper, and he ran respectably at the Dublin Racing Festival when he finished in 6th place. But this horse at the Acorn's got a couple of fancy entries coming up, including one in the Welsh National. He would have to win a race of this nature to surely go up in the weights, and he probably would just miss out, I would imagine. But he's going to need to win a race of this nature, and despite being £7 at the handicap tomorrow, I think this horse is actually going to land a surprise tomorrow. He's currently 20 to 1 with some firms. You can get that with the majority of bookmakers, including the likes of Skybet, Ladbrokes, Paddy Power, Betfair. They're all offering 20 to 1, 5 places, and I think this is definitely a good each way shot tomorrow. And also as well, like I said, being £7 out the handicap, we get a claim an extra 5. So this horse is going to be carrying such a low racing weight tomorrow. You really got to think that he's going to go well. Also as well, going up to 3 miles as well shouldn't be a problem. I think he'll get the trip absolutely fine. He looks like a stayer to me. He won a point-to-point over 3 miles, and there's stamina in his pedigree. And I just think this horse, the money will be down for him tomorrow. I think he'll be a lot shorter price come post time. I think he's actually in the same ownership as another Tony Martin horse called the Mouse Doctor, who you might remember landed a couple of gambles last season. I remember when he landed a bit of a gamble, I think it was at Musselburgh. So yeah, definitely one to take note of. and I think this horse tomorrow will go quite close. So that's why this horse is going to be my long shot of the day tomorrow, and fingers crossed we can get a good run to start proceedings. We then go with an extra tip which runs in the Becher Chase tomorrow, one of the feature races of the day at Aintree in the 1:30, and I thought Breuil was going to be really hard to get out of the frame here. You can currently back him at 4-1 with bookmakers at the moment, and I'm going to recommend the Dirty each way here with the 5 places on offer, being offered by quite a few firms, including the likes of Skybet, Betfair and Paddy Power at the prices at the time recording. I'm recording this video just before 6:30, so that's the prices being advertised. But this horse, Breuil, he's got solid credentials. He's trained by Ben Paulin, and Keelan Wood has booked for the ride tomorrow, and he looks every inch a national type to me. He actually won the National Hunt Chase at the Cheltenham Festival in 2019 when he was down off the mark then of 145. He then subsequently went up in the weights to a mark of 150, which is the mark he was running off in this race last year when he travelled really well for a long way. But Ben Paulin's horses weren't quite right last season, and they've been amongst the winners of late. So I think they're in a better place this time. And if you look at the race tomorrow, Breuil is going to be off a mark of 141, so he's effectively £9 lower, and he's going to be getting a big swing with some of his rivals that he's going to be taking on again with the likes of Walk in the Mill tomorrow. So that's another tick in the box. Also as well, I thought his run at Chepstow was really encouraging, where he finished in 4th behind Michael Scudamore's Some Chaos. I thought that was quite a good run that day, and Some Chaos had some good form going into that race, and he was slightly unlucky. But like I said, I think this horse is an absolute stayer. He needs every inch of a trip, and he seemed to relish going over those fences last year for a long way, and it was quite a test of stamina last year, and I think it will be again this year. But I just think he's in a better place this year. I think he's got solid credentials, and he would need to run a big race in this, because he is probably going to have to go up a few pounds. Like I said, he's off 141. If he wants to sneak into the national, he probably needs to be at least in the high 140. So I think if all goes well tomorrow, he should take all the beating in this, and for me at 4-1, I think he's a solid candidate there. We then go to Chepstow, where they've got a good card tomorrow. It's a Welsh Grand National Trial, but I'm going to be going in a novices handicap here in the 2:32 at Chepstow with a horse called St Barts, with Ben Jones claiming free, riding for Philip Hobbs. Now, some of you might remember we put this horse up at Exeter last month when he was unlucky and probably should have won if he hadn't been interfered with several times in a race won by Colin Tizard's all of the gin joints. But if you go back and watch a race, I'd urge anyone to go back and watch it. This horse seemed to jump really well on his chase debut, and he looked every inch a stay. You know, he seems to relish heavy conditions, and it's going to be like that at Chepstow tomorrow. If you go back through some of his old form from last season, he was a really game winner when winning over hurdles at Ascot and testing ground. But like I said, he seemed to really relish it at Exeter last time out, and he was really unlucky. I think he nearly was pushed out of a fence, but he still managed to get another crack, and he was staying on really strongly at the line. And like I said, the winner, all of the gin joints, I think it was a bit of a lucky winner that day, and he got first run, and that's why he won the race. But our horse was running him down really strongly at the line, and I think tomorrow he'll build on that. He was only raised £3 by the handicapper for that second place effort. I think the handicapper could have raised him a couple of more pounds, probably could have easily put him above 130. I think this horse is at least a 135 rated horse, and I think could be easily maybe a Welsh national horse in time, maybe next season. You know, I think that's where we're going to be kind of seeing him over these longer distances. He's currently 15-8 with bookmakers at the moment. I think he's a good thing in this handicap tomorrow, and if he wasn't for the nap that I put up in the Saddle podcast, which I'll mention about later on in this video, he would have been my nap of the day. Really sweet on St Barts here. So 15-8, just going to recommend a win only bet for the race, but I think he could go off a lot shorter tomorrow. He could easily, in my opinion, I think he could maybe go off 11-8, 5-4. Really sweet on his chances tomorrow. So St Barts ticks all the boxes there for me in the 2:32 at Chepstow. We then go with an extra tip in the 3 o'clock at Sandown, which is the London National. Now, some of you, if you follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter where my handle is at LuckyLoader15. Some of you might have seen my entry for the Racing TV Tip Star Challenge, and this is the horse I selected there, and that's Regal Flow in the 3 o'clock London National at Sandown. Now this horse, he's getting on a little bit now. He's an old boy, he's 13 years old, but that doesn't worry me too much. He's trained by Bob Buckler, and Sean Houlihan is booked for the ride tomorrow, claiming £3. Now this horse is a bit of an in and out horse, so there are going to be 1 or 2 risks attached with this horse. However, I still think he might have one big day left in him. You know, he's been a class horse over the last couple of years, you know, especially in these marathon trips. Former Midlands National winner back in 2018. And before he went and won that race, he was on a little bit of a roll. I was actually there at Wincanton when he won, and then he put another win together at Taunton in heavy ground. He's every inch a stay. Now, I know I've said that many times here. If you're playing a drinking game on my videos, you're certainly probably going to be feeling the effects now. But yeah, Regal Flow, when he was winning those races, he really did get hiked up the weights, and he's been suffering for that ever since. And he's now down to his lowest mark since winning at Wincanton, so he's arguably down to a really workable mark in his terms now, and back down to a comfortable level. And if you go back through some of his recent form, you know, he actually ran a really good race in the Veterans Chase here last year, split in JPEG and Theatre Guide in a photo finish. That was a good effort that day in testing ground. Now, if we look at the race setup tomorrow, I know the Venetia Williams horse, Cloudy Glen, obviously will tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people, but he's going to have to be giving away quite a bit of weight to his rivals tomorrow. And I think despite even though it looked like a very good performance in that Southern National at Fontwell, I just think he might feel the effects of that race, where I think our selection, Regal Flow, he might get an easy time of things up in front, you know, and there's quite a lot of horses in here that I could put line through. Wasn't too many dangers for him tomorrow. I don't like the look of Shamru Santos, that's one of them that didn't float my boat. But yeah, I just thought Regal Flow tomorrow. There was a lot to like about him, and even at 16-1, despite there only being 2 places for each way terms, I'd be disappointed if he couldn't run well for a really long way. And if he takes to it, and if he's in the mood, 16-1 could look a really big price. Like I said, it does maybe have 1 or 2 quirks attached to it with this selection, but I just think he's got every chance of running a big race tomorrow, and I think he'll be spot on. Also as well, another thing I should say, some of you might be going, oh, he's too old, I can back him. Well, we saw a perfect candidate win for Fergal O'Brien a few weeks ago at Haydock, you know, and I think these older horses over these longer marathon trips, they just seem to relish it, and as long as they're still showing all the right signs at home, I still think these older horses can still be really effective against some younger and improving rivals. But yeah, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like this selection, but yeah, for me, Regal Flow, I just liked him tomorrow, and I think it's now or never for him, really. If he didn't run a great race tomorrow, obviously you retire him, but like I said, he's down to a really workable mark now, £2 lower than that second place effort in the Veterans race earlier this year. And if he recaptures that form, for me, I think he'll be there or thereabouts. So that's going to be my one of my extra tips of the day. We then go with the net. Now, this is the one some of you probably might be already sitting on a big price, I hope, if you listen to the In the Saddle podcast. And it's in the 3:15 tomorrow at Aintree, the Grand Sefton Chase, over 2.5 miles. And the horse I'm going to be going with here is Swift Crusader for Samuel Drinkwater and Tom Scudamore, carrying bottom weight of 10 stone. Now, Sam Drinkwater's horses are in great form at the moment. He's had 3 winners from his last 8 runners, but his last 3 runners have been those 3 winners, which included a 40-1 chance at Fakenham on Monday. He had a 33-1 shot at Lingfield that beat Arnap, who was really unlucky at Lingfield. You might remember early in the week with Clondor Robin. That won on Tuesday. And then he had another winner at Haydock. He hasn't had any runners since, and he's got a couple of runners tomorrow, including this one. But if you look at the profile of this horse, he's actually been a really good horse fresh, and he's going to be making his seasonal reappearance tomorrow. He won at Foss Lass a few years ago when he was previously trained by Evan Williams on his seasonal first start of the season. Also as well, when he was trained by Alexandra Dunn, he won on his first start of the season at Sandown in testing conditions over this trip. So that's 2 nice ticks in the box, and I think he's down to a really workable mark, and he's still He's still not an old boy yet. I think he's only 8 or 9 years old. But yeah, going back to Swift Crusader, I actually was watching Sky Sports racing earlier in the week. I was actually there the day that Luke Harvey was interviewing him, and he asked Sam Drinkwater what he had for the weekend, and he said he had Swift Crusader, and he said he'd been absolutely working the house down at home, and they were really bullish of a confident run. They had no jockey booking at the time, but the one that they've gone for is Tom Scudamore, who's really interesting, who won the Ladbrokes Trophy on cloth cap at Newbury on Saturday. Now, he was doing 10 stone on cloth cap, and he's going to be doing 10 stone on this lad tomorrow. And Tom Scudamore, even though, yes, he's been around a lot in the game, he hasn't done, until cloth cap winning on Saturday, he hadn't done a 10 stone apparently for the last couple of years. So obviously he's going to have to watch it. He's had to watch his weight to take this ride tomorrow, and he would only be doing it if he thought this horse had a serious chance. I think there is a good chance he'll be spot on for the run tomorrow. He's 20 to 1 with Skybet, who are offering 6 places at the moment. I'm currently sitting on at 33 to 1. That was with Bet365 yesterday. I mentioned it in the podcast as well, that he was still available at 33 to 1, so I hope some of you were able to get on at that price. But yeah, Swift Crusader I think has got a really good chance in this race tomorrow. Isn't to be underestimated, and I think if you go through the race as a whole, there's a lot of horses in here, in my opinion, that are either exposed, they're only the price they are because they're with more powerful connections, or for some people they bring some recent form in, but I think some of their form is quite questionable with some of the horses like Modus, for example. I think he's quite questionable, and for me, Didero Vallis, he wouldn't be on my shortlist either for this race. But yeah, for me, Swift Crusader, I think he'll run a really big race tomorrow. He'll outrun his odds, and I'll be disappointed at least if he couldn't make the places. But yeah, with Tom Scudamore doing that lightweight, I think there's a lot to like about him tomorrow, and that's why he's going to be my nap of the day. We then go to the all-weather fast track qualifier, the conditions race there as my final tip of the day, which runs in the 5:30 at Wolverhampton, and I thought Yazaman for Kieran Fallon and William Haggis could be the way to play here. You can currently back him at 4 to 1. Now this horse has been frustrating ever since he won on his debut at Yarmouth, but he's got a lot of strong juvenile form to his name. He finished second behind Supremacy, who went on to win the Middle Park. I think he as well finished second in the Windsor Castle behind Tactical. He ran in a lot of the top juvenile races last year and brings a really good standard of form. However, he has been a little bit of a monkey, but the last time we saw him where he finished second behind Significantly, he's had a gelding operation, which I just think might have helped him. And also as well tomorrow, for the first time in his life, he's going to be running around the bend, which again I think will help. He's by Kodiak as well, who I'm not sure if he still is, but at least a couple of years ago was the sire that was producing the most all-weather winners in the UK. So that's another tick in the box there. Also as well, this is going to be the first time Kieran Fallon's been booked to ride him. Tom Marquand, I believe, has been on all his other starts. So again, another positive there for me. I think the race could set up really nicely for him. Mighty Gurkha for Holly Doyle and Archie Watson, obviously got to be respected. Both are in good form at the moment, but I just wonder if that race in the Breeders' Mark Cup might have left a mark on Mighty Gurkha, and we're going to be in receipt of £7, and on official ratings there's £4 between them. So if he was getting a handicap, you know, he's quite well in here getting the extra weight in the conditions race. If it was a handicap, he would only be getting £4, but in this condition race he's going to be getting £7, which is even better. Yes, there's one or two other nice horses in here from Simon Egg, Chris Yard. I think Marco Botti's got one. But I just thought Yazaman brought some of the best form to the table, in my opinion, and there's a bit of the big price here. And I just think the gelding operation, and also as well the change of jockey, might just help him tomorrow. And also as well, they're going to be leaving off the headgear. So yeah, I think he'll run a big race tomorrow, Yazaman. I think at 4 to 1 there's a bit of value in his price, and he's going to be an extra tip for tomorrow, but I'm going to recommend a win-only bet. So yeah, they're the 6 tips for tomorrow's race, and let's go through them then if you want to go through the list here. We then, so we're going to be then starting with the first of the day. Longshot is in the 108 at Navan, at the Acorn, 20 to 1, 5 places each way, Skybet, and there's other firms mentioned, there's other firms that I mentioned at that price and the same places. So yeah, that's going to be the long shot of the day. In the 130 Aintree, an extra tip, Breuil 4-1 each way, the dirty each way, 5 places, Skybet, Paddy, Power and Betfair. In the 232 at Chepstow, the next best is St Barts, 15-8 win only bet. In the 3 o'clock at Sandown, we go Regal Flow, 16-1 each way, despite there only being 2 places. The nap of the day runs in the 3:15 at Aintree, Swift Crusador for Tom Scudamore and Saturn Drinkwater, 20-1 each way, 6 places, Skybet. And in the 5:30 at Wolverhampton, to round things off under the floodlights, we go with Yazaman, an extra tip of the day, 4-1 win only bet. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying these videos. Also as well, if you're liking them too, please remember to hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate all the support you give me, and it means every time I upload a video, you'll get a notification on your app or on your desktop, so make sure you do that if you haven't done so already. Also as well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, my handle is @LuckyLoader15, and if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, my website is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So enough said, please game responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.